Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine a sequel to a wildly successful film, a cinematic juggernaut that not only didn't try to repeat the formula, but actively trying to subvert it.
Yeah, like deliberately went the other way.
Exactly. A film so dark, so unapologetically weird, that it ignited this massive public backlash, cost its acclaimed director his job on future installments, and even got its fast food promotional partner to pull out.
Which is pretty major when you think about it. A McDonald's tie-in dropping out. Wow.
Right. Yet, decades later, the same film is hailed as a masterpiece, a visionary work that shaped an entire genre.
It's fascinating. What's truly interesting here is not just how much perception can change, but what it says about art that dares to challenge expectations.
It's a perfect case study, isn't it? Sometimes a work of art is so ahead of its time, or maybe just so committed to a singular vision, that the world needs years, even decades, to catch up.
Yeah, what was once seen as controversial, maybe even inappropriate, can later be celebrated for its foresight and its depth.
Absolutely, and that's exactly what we're taking a deep dive into today. We're peeling back the layers of Tim Burton's 1992 cinematic enigma, Batman Returns.
Quite the enigma.
It is. Our mission for you, our listener, is to not just explore the film's tumultuous journey, from polarizing release to celebrated classic, but to understand why this movie, which fundamentally redefined what a superhero film could be, remains one of the most iconic and influential of all time.
We'll delve into its profound thematic undercurrents and its surprising legacy, exploring what it tells us about power, identity, and, well, the very nature of heroism.
And we've gone through a comprehensive stack of sources, articles, research, production notes, critical analyses to really extract the most important nuggets of knowledge and insight for you.
Got the deep dive ready.
Okay, so let's set the scene. The original Batman from 1989 wasn't just a hit. It was like a cultural phenomenon.
Oh, absolutely massive. It became the fifth highest grossing film of its time, raking in an incredible $411.6 million globally.
And that's just the box office. The merchandise alone added another, $500 million to its earnings? Huge.
Just staggering numbers. So Warner Bros. Was understandably riding high on that success, and a sequel was considered pretty much inevitable, a guaranteed cash cow, really.
They were so confident they even invested $2 million into maintaining the Gotham City sets at Pinewood Studios in England.
Right, fully intending to use them for at least 2 more films, believing it was more cost-effective than rebuilding from scratch each time.
Which really highlights the sheer scale of the investment and the immense expectation they had, doesn't it?
Totally. They envisioned a long-term franchise, and that first film's success had given them every reason to believe it was a goldmine. The studio had already started discussing a follow-up by late 1989, even planning to start filming in May of the next year.
And they even had early ideas about who they wanted for the villains, tossing around names like Robin Williams for the Riddler and Danny DeVito for the Penguin early on.
Which brings us to the first fascinating turn. Here's where it gets really interesting. Despite all that incredible success, Tim Burton was actually incredibly hesitant to return for a sequel.
Yeah, he famously called the whole idea dumbfounded, especially before they had even really analyzed the first film's performance properly.
Burton was generally skeptical of sequels, wasn't he? He believed they were only worthwhile if they offered a chance to explore something entirely new and different.
Exactly. He even described Batman as his least favorite of his own films, feeling creatively restricted by studio expectations on what a blockbuster should be.
And that creative restriction was precisely why he was so reluctant. His longtime producer, Denise Di Novi, even said that only about 50% of Batman was Burton, which is quite telling.
So his condition for returning was absolute creative control. That was the line in the sand.
He wanted to make Batman Returns more of a Tim Burton movie. A weirder movie, but also more hip and fun. This is a pivotal demand, fundamentally shaping the entire dark and distinct direction of the film.
It transformed it from what could have been a typical sequel into something far more personal, far stranger.
And it certainly got weird.
It did. Now, the original writer from Batman, Sam Hamm, actually started on the sequel. His initial ideas were quite different from what we eventually saw on screen, weren't they?
Very different. He wanted to expand the character of District Attorney Harvey Dent, who was played by Billy D. Williams in the first film, into Two-Face.
Which would have made sense continuity-wise.
Yeah, but Warner Bros. Wanted Penguin as the main villain, seeing him as Batman's most prominent enemy after the Joker. Catwoman was added because both Burton and Hamm were apparently interested in her darker allure.
So Hamm's early drafts continue directly from the first film, even focusing on Bruce Wayne's relationship with Vicky Vale and their engagement.
Right, and his penguin was more traditional, avian-themed, using birds as weapons. Catwoman, in his vision, was more overtly sexualized, wore bondage gear, and apparently just nonchalantly murdered groups of men.
Wow, okay. So the plot was Penguin and Catwoman teaming up to frame Batman for murdering Gotham's wealthiest citizens, leading them to Wayne Manor, finding secrets about the Wayne family.
That was the gist of it.
Ah,
Hamm also originated the Christmas time setting, which is so crucial to the final film's atmosphere and themes.
yeah, that Christmas setting is everything.
He even introduced a version of Robin, Batman's sidekick, though his idea for assault rifle-wielding Sanus was thankfully abandoned.
Oh my God, really? Assault rifle Sanus. Okay, good call there.
Hamm also made sure Batman didn't kill anyone and focused on protecting Gotham's homeless. But ultimately, these drafts just didn't satisfy Burton. They failed to renew his interest.
He was off concentrating on other projects at the time, right? Like
Yeah.
Edward Scissorhands and writing The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Exactly. So the script needed a fresh perspective to lure him back.
So in January 1991, Burton was finally confirmed to direct the sequel, with filming set for later that year. This is where Daniel Waters enters the scene.
Right. Burton chose Waters, known for the darkly comedic and subversive teen film Heathers, to replace Hamm.
Which is already a signal, isn't it? Bringing in the Heathers guy.
Totally. And Waters came in with a very specific, almost defiant approach. He had no emotional attachment to the first film, no interest in the comic book histories, or even fan opinions.
He famously said, "We were really just about the art," which is a bold stance for a blockbuster sequel.
Extremely bold. And it extended to his view on Batman's character, too. Unlike Hamm, Waters wasn't opposed to Batman killing people.
Really? He thought Batman should kill.
Well, he believed the character should reflect contemporary darker times, and that the idea of a hero leaving captured villains for the authorities was sort of outdated.
Huh. That's a pretty radical take on Batman, especially back then.
It was. Though, to be fair, Waters did say he only had Batman kill when necessary so it would be more meaningful. And he was actually unhappy with some of the unscripted on-screen deaths in the final film, like Batman blowing up that red triangle member with the bomb.
Interesting. But even with Waters' darker take, Michael Keaton had a significant influence on Batman's dialogue, didn't he?
He did. Much of Waters' initially bitter and cynical lines for Batman, like suggesting Gotham City didn't deserve protection, were removed.
Keaton insisted that Batman should rarely speak in costume, right? And Burton wanted him driven by trauma, not nihilism.
Exactly. Which really solidified the focus on the villains, allowing them to carry so much of the emotional and thematic weight of the film.
Which brings us to the iconic villains themselves and the surprising removal of a hero. Let's start with the Penguin.
Okay, Penguin. The genius of their approach wasn't just to make him weird, but to make him truly tragic, like a dark mirror to Batman himself.
Burton initially struggled with the comic book counterpart, didn't he? Saying he was just this guy with a cigarette and a top hat.
Yeah, he found that uninspired. So Waters and Burton decided to make him far more animalistic and give him this heartbreaking backstory. Abandoned as an infant by his wealthy socialite parents, left in the sewers.
That choice was just crucial because it made him this profound reflection of Batman. Both lost their parents early, both are outsiders.
But their paths diverge so fundamentally. While Batman is sort of content in his loneliness and uses his trauma for justice, Penguin desperately craves acceptance, love, respect, even as he pursues revenge.
And this tragic origin allowed for that sharp political and social satire, influenced by those 1960s Batman TV episodes where Penguin actually runs for mayor.
Right. It added a layer of depth beyond simple villainy. It became a commentary on social alienation and, well, the allure of power.
Then there's Catwoman. If the Penguin was a dark reflection, then Catwoman was this radical reimagining that became an allegory for something much more contemporary.
Absolutely. Waters totally transformed Sam Hamm's previous fetishy sexual fantasy version. He reimagined her as Selena Kyle, a working-class, disenchanted secretary.
Kind of downtrodden, really.
Exactly. Who, after this near-fatal corporate incident, becomes this anti-hero embodying contemporary feminism. It was a powerful shift, showing how a marginalized character can find this explosive agency.
And though the film incorporates feline mythology, like cats having 9 lives, Waters and Burton never intended those supernatural elements to be taken literally, did they?
No, not really. In fact, their initial plan was actually for Catwoman to die with Max Schreck during the electrical explosion at the end of the film.
Wow, okay, that would have been dark.
And speaking of Shrek, the introduction of Max Shrek is equally fascinating because it allows the film to explore a different, perhaps more insidious kind of villainy.
The corporate, political kind?
Exactly, which resonated in the early 90s and arguably resonates even more so today. Waters created Shrek as an original character, named in honor of actor Max Schreck from Nosferatu,
Nice little nod there.
to replace the initially considered Harvey Dent Two-Face. Shrek was written satirically as this evil industrialist who orchestrates the Penguin's mayoral run, conveying the chilling message that true villains do not always wear costumes.
And in one version of the script, Shrek was even the Penguin's more favored brother, deepening that theme of twisted family bonds.
Yeah, they explored a few angles. It really grounds the fantastical elements in a sort of recognizable everyday evil.
And finally, a hero that didn't make it into the film, highlighting the film's deliberate focus on its central trio, Robin.
Right. With 4 central characters already taking up a lot of narrative space, Batman, Penguin, Catwoman, Shrek, Waters, and Burton decided to remove Robin.
Who is initially conceived as a garage mechanic who helps Batman after Penguin crashes the Batmobile.
That was the idea. Waters, in his characteristic bluntness, just described the character as worthless within their narrative.
Ouch.
But what's truly wild is that the character's development was far enough along that Marlon Wayans was actually cast in the role Burton had specifically wanted an African-American Robin.
Really? Wayans was cast?
Cast, costumes made, sets designed, even action figures were produced. Wayans later said he still received residual checks as part of a 2-film contract he'd signed.
That is wild, getting paid for a role you never got to play on screen.
It really highlights how fluid the development process can be, even for major blockbusters. The initial concepts often diverge significantly from the final product.
Absolutely. And that was just the script. The production itself was a whole other beast, wasn't it? A massive undertaking that fully committed to Burton's unique vision.
Oh, completely. Diving into the production, Burton was very deliberate about assembling his creative team. He replaced key crew members from the first Batman with his previous collaborators.
Like cinematographer Stefan Japsky and production designer Bo Welch.
Exactly. People who intimately understood his visual language and his commitment to practical effects.
Yeah, the script itself was a complex evolution, marked by this fascinating tension between artistic ambition and commercial viability.
Totally. Waters' initial draft was huge, a whopping 160 pages. He jokes it would have cost $400 million to produce back then.
So naturally, that led to some necessary restraint.
Yeah, Wesley Strick was then hired to do an uncredited rewrite. His job was to streamline dialogue, lighten the tone slightly, and critically, add a master plan for the Penguin.
The plot to kidnap Gotham's firstborn sons and threaten the city with missiles.
That's the one. Which Waters himself apparently found baffling. He didn't quite get where that came from.
It's a testament to the collaborative yet sometimes chaotic nature of filmmaking, isn't it? The studio mandated certain plot points for commercial viability, even if they sometimes conflicted with the writer's original vision.
That push and pull between artistic integrity and studio demands is a recurring theme in blockbuster cinema.
Yeah.
And here, you really see it shaping a truly unique, if sometimes maybe uneven, narrative.
And that push and pull definitely extended to casting. Michael Keaton, thankfully, returned as Bruce Wayne Batman.
But it cost Warner Bros. $10 million. Double his salary for the first film.
Wow. And for the Penguin, Burton initially wanted Marlon Brando.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
But Warner Bros. Preferred Dustin Hoffman. Christopher Lloyd and Robert De Niro were also considered.
But Danny DeVito became the frontrunner once Waters re-envisioned the character as this deformed human-bird hybrid.
Right. DeVito was apparently reluctant at first, until his friend Jack Nicholson, the Joker himself, convinced him.
That's a great story, and Burton gave DeVito that painting.
Yeah, a picture he'd painted of a diminutive character on a striped ball, captioned, "My name is Jimmy, but my friends call me the hideous penguin boy," to sort of convey the vibe.
And the casting for Catwoman was even more arduous, wasn't it? A real Hollywood drama.
Oh yeah, Annette Bening was initially cast, but had to drop out due to pregnancy. Then, this long list of actresses lobbied for the part: Ellen Barkin, Cher, Madonna.
And most famously, there was the impromptu audition by Sean Young, who showed up at the Warner Bros. Lot in a homemade Catwoman costume.
That is legendary. Burton reportedly hid under his desk. Though Keaton and producer Mark Canton did briefly meet with her, Warner Bros. Ultimately said she didn't fit their vision.
Can you just imagine the scene? What a moment. The The role eventually went to Michelle Pfeiffer.
Who's described as a proven actress who got along well with Burton. She got $3 million, plus a percentage of the gross profits.
And Pfeiffer truly committed, didn't she? Training for months in kickboxing and mastering the whip.
She became proficient enough to perform her own stunts with the weapon, which really adds to Catwoman's physical presence on screen. She did later reflect that she maybe wouldn't have performed the live bird stunt, where she put a live bird in her mouth.
Yeah, that one's pretty intense.
As she hadn't really considered the risks involved at the time. Hindsight, maybe?
And Christopher Walken's inspiration for Max Schreck is equally fascinating, rooted in real-world, powerful figures.
Definitely. His appearance was modeled on Vincent Price, and Walken based his performance on real-life moguls, like Saul Herrock and Samuel Goldwyn, giving the character this veneer of self-made charisma.
He even acknowledged his own tendency to play mostly villains and twisted people, attributing it to his distinctive look.
And there was that planned cameo by Burgess Meredith, the Penguin from the 60s TV series, as Penguin's father. But he fell ill.
Shame. But he was replaced by Paul Rubens, right? Along with Diane Salinger as his wife. A nice nod to Burton's Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Exactly. So many intricate choices and layers, both in front of and behind the camera.
Okay, so let's talk about the actual filming challenges and that reliance on practical effects, a choice that really set Batman Returns apart.
Principal photography began in September 1991. Burton insisted on filming entirely in the U.S., specifically California. He felt the first Batman film shot in the UK suffered from a British subtext.
Plus, the economics had changed, making it more cost-effective to stay in America, which meant abandoning those Pinewood sets built for the first film.
Right, and this film was a massive undertaking for practical effects, a true masterclass in on-set craftsmanship, filmed entirely on huge soundstages at Warner Bros. Studios.
Including the expansive Gotham Plaza set, designed to be this grand, oppressive urban landscape.
They even built an additional soundstage at Universal Studios, just for the Penguin's Arctic exhibit lair.
And speaking of the Arctic exhibit, the production's commitment to realism extended to keeping some sets very cold for the live penguins, right? Emperor, Black-footed, King penguins.
Yeah, they were flown in on refrigerated planes, had a chilled waiting area with a swimming pool stocked with ice and fresh fish daily. Danny DeVito himself said he disliked the cold conditions, even with his heavily padded costume.
This raises an important point, though. In an era increasingly reliant on CGI, Batman Returns really leaned into practical effects, and it paid off visually. It grounded the fantastical elements in a tangible reality.
Absolutely. Consider the animatronic penguins and the little people in suits, or Michelle Pfeiffer actually putting a live bird in her mouth. These weren't digital creations. They were physically there, adding this tactile, almost unsettling presence.
Of course, this commitment came with its own set of challenges. PETA protested the use of real penguins, didn't they? Despite Warner Bros. Claiming meticulous care.
Yeah, PETA complained the birds didn't get fresh drinking water, only chlorinated pool water, things like that. Burton himself admitted discomfort with using real animals, but ensured they were treated with care.
And there are some fantastic anecdotes from the set that capture the unique atmosphere. Christopher Walken described the filming as very collaborative.
Yeah, he suggested adding a blueprint for Shrek's power plant, and apparently a model was built within a few hours. Just like that.
And Danny DeVito's monkey mishap. During a sewer scene, the organ grinder monkey saw DeVito in full costume
And lipped right up my balls.
Oh.
Thankfully, his costume was padded, preventing any real injury.
Oh my God. And there were minor injuries too, right? Stuntmen hurt when Shrek's superstore exploded.
Yeah, a stark reminder of the physical demands of these big productions.
Wow. So after 170 days, filming wrapped in February 1992, but the changes weren't over even then.
No, that final scene of Catwoman looking up at the bat signal was actually filmed during post-production, only 2 weeks before the film's release.
Warner Bros. Mandated that scene, didn't they? Showing she survived after test audiences responded so positively to Pfeiffer's performance.
Exactly. They felt her character deserved to live. Pfeiffer herself was unavailable, so a stand-in was used.
And a scene where Penguin's gang destroyed a store filled with Batman merchandise was removed, which is pretty ironic given the film's later themes about commercialism.
Very ironic. The budget for Batman Returns was reported as somewhere between $50 million and $80 million, a substantial sum.
And the music, Danny Elfman's score, was such a significant part of the film's distinct feel.
Oh, huge. Enhancing its dark, gothic, and often tragic tone. Elfman was initially reluctant to score Batman Returns because he was unhappy. His original Batman score was supplemented with pop music by Prince.
Ah, right. I remember the Prince songs.
But he built on many of his original Batman themes, creating a consistent sonic identity. He particularly enjoyed working on the Penguin's themes because of the character's sympathetic aspects, the abandonment, the death, allowing for a broader emotional palette.
And the score used a wide range of instruments, right? Haunting vocals, harps, percussive bells, xylophones.
Yeah, creating this rich soundscape that mirrored the film's visual complexity.
So what does this all mean for the visual language of the film? The designers and effects teams weren't just creating sets and costumes. They were building this tangible world that amplified the core themes.
Absolutely. Bo Welch, who replaced Anton Furst as production designer, brought a fresh, yet equally dark, perspective. He'd worked with Burton on Beetlejuice and Edward Scissorhands, so he understood Burton's visual intentions perfectly.
Welch's design moved from Furst's brooding aesthetic to something different.
Yeah, a sleeker, brighter, more authoritarian visual style, he called it. A Gotham that felt both grand and suffocating at the same time.
He was heavily influenced by German Expressionism, right? That style known for its distorted, unsettling visuals and dramatic shadows.
Exactly, which gave Gotham that sense of unease and psychological depth. He also drew from neo-fascist architecture, lending Gotham a grand yet oppressive feel, and American precisionism painters, whose stark geometric lines conveyed a kind of dehumanizing industrialism.
His core intention was to manipulate spaces to convey emotion, emphasizing towering, vertical buildings to depict Gotham as this huge, overwhelmingly corrupt, decaying city, filled with small, insignificant people.
He even took inspiration from Burton's rough sketch of Catwoman, which had a very S&M kind of look, by adding chains and steel elements to the city's design, making it look like it was held together by these things, perpetually on the verge of collapse.
And the winter setting played into this too, using the stark contrast between black and white, influenced by films like Citizen Kane and The Third Man.
That's incredible attention to detail, tying every visual choice back to the film's deeper meaning. The Gotham Plaza set, for example, was a demented caricature of Rockefeller Center.
Designed to be overbuilt and emphasize the generic yet oppressive heart of Gotham's corruption.
Right. Even Wayne Manor, a symbol of old money, was partially built to create an illusion of massive scale, making Bruce Wayne feel even more isolated within its grandeur.
And Penguin's Lair. That massive 50-foot-tall Universal stage was chosen to give it more majesty, right?
Yeah.
To contrast with the evil, filthy little bug of a man Penguin was.
Exactly. To make it feel more realistic, less like just a set, emphasizing Penguin's cavernous dark domain.
And the costume design by Bob Ringwood and Mary E. Vogt also significantly contributed. The Batsuit was refined.
Yeah, to create the illusion of mechanical parts, making Batman resemble this dark, imposing cyborg, a modern knight almost. Michael Keaton couldn't turn his head in the suit, which forced those bolder, powerful movements with his lower body.
And they included a generous codpiece for comfort, though Keaton declined a zippered fly for bathroom access, fearful it would be visible on camera.
The commitment to the illusion.
And the Catwoman outfit was a story in itself, made from latex because it was designed to be black and sexy and tight and shiny, reflecting her erotic and sexual transition.
The material was chosen precisely for its association with a stylized, almost fetishistic aesthetic. Padding was added because Michelle Pfeiffer was less physically endowed than Annette Bening.
Which surprisingly ended up being a good thing, because if it was too tight, it might reveal too much.
Apparently so. They were pushing the visual boundaries. Dozens of backup Catwoman suits were made, costing $1,000 each. Pfeiffer needed baby powder to wear them. They were so tight.
She said it was like a second skin, but incredibly uncomfortable, causing rashes, no restroom access, claws catching on things.
It highlights the immense physical commitment the role demanded, and that distinctive stitching influence came from Calico Cats. But they struggled to get it to stick to the latex, eventually going over the suit with liquid silicone to add that captivating shine.
Danny DeVito's transformation into the Penguin was equally meticulous, utterly transformative. Stan Winston's studio created this over-the-top Burton-esque visual without completely obscuring DeVito's face.
The final makeup included a T-shaped appliance over his nose, lip, and brow, plus crooked teeth, whitened skin, dark circles under his eyes. A 4.5-hour application process, eventually reduced to 3 hours.
And DeVito even helped create the Penguin's black saliva using mouthwash and food coloring, adding that visceral detail.
Yeah, Burton noted DeVito was completely in character and costume and scared everybody. Due to the secrecy around his appearance before marketing, DeVito wasn't allowed to discuss it even with his family.
And when a photo leaked, Warner Bros. Hired private investigators.
That's how serious they were about the reveal.
The Penguin Army, too, a blend of practical effects and early CGI. 30 animatronic penguins, 40 Emperor Penguin suits worn by little people, some CGI.
The animatronic penguins alone required nearly 200 different mechanical parts for movement. Dyed black chicken feathers were even used for their bodies. It was truly an elaborate visual feast.
Okay, so now let's talk about the aftermath of all this meticulous design and dark storytelling. When Batman Returns hit theaters in June 1992, it opened to a record-breaking $45.7 million weekend, even surpassed the original Batman's opening.
Sounds like a massive success, right? The initial hype was definitely there.
It did initially, third highest grossing film of 1992 domestically. However, the film ultimately failed to replicate its predecessor's overall financial success or longevity.
Right. Batman grossed $411.6 million worldwide. Batman Returns ended its run with $266.8 million. So while it started strong, it didn't have the same legs.
Okay, let's unpack this. Why the drop? You had a record-breaking opening, the hype was massive. But then the public started talking and the backlash began.
Yeah, the significant complaints came from audiences, particularly parents, who found its dark tone, violence, and sexual elements inappropriate for its PG-13 rating.
Daniel Waters himself anticipated some backlash, but not the level of kids crying, people acting like they've been punched in the stomach.
And McDonald's famously terminated its Batman Returns promotion due to complaints about marketing a mature film to children. A very public condemnation.
Warner Bros. Executives were anonymously quoted describing the film as too dark, it's not a lot of fun. Ouch.
The film's initial reception was indeed polarized by critics too, mirroring the public's reaction. Some praised Burton's creative control, noting it felt like a more personal work, faster paced, more depth than the first film.
They appreciated that it was fearlessly different and anti-blockbuster in its defiance of formula.
But others, like Kenneth Turan, argue that Burton's innovative visuals, while impressive, made the film feel cheerless, claustrophobic, and unexciting, often at the expense of the plot. Owen Gleiberman suggested Burton's fantastic elements were undermined because he didn't establish a base of normality.
The plot itself also got a mixed response. Some praised the first two acts and found the characters interesting, especially the villains.
But others felt it lacked suspense or clever writing, often overwhelmed by too many characters and constant banter. The ending was a frequent target of criticism, lackluster, failing to bring the character threads together satisfactorily.
Janet Maslin from the New York Times felt Burton cared mainly about visuals, plot secondary, and Gene Siskel said the sympathetic villains left him hoping Batman wouldn't win.
Which leads us to the characters. Reviewers generally agreed that despite Michael Keaton's abilities, his Batman was often overshadowed by the villains. Scenes without him were often cited as the best.
Todd McCarthy described Batman as more of a symbol of good rather than a psychologically complete character, almost static.
Yet some, like Peter Travers, found Keaton's manic-depressive hero deeply realized, despite the faster pace. Danny DeVito's Penguin received praise for energy, unique characterization, conveying tragedy despite the prosthetics.
Though some still compared him to Nicholson's Joker, finding him less fear-inducing.
But the near-unanimous praise, the real standout, went to Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman.
Universally hailed, wasn't she? Passionate, sexy, ambitious, intelligent, intimidating, fierce, embodying this raw, reawakened feminism.
Many critics called her the only respite from the otherwise dark tone, a spark of captivating energy. Her scenes with Batman were considered the film's most interesting and emotional, noting their undeniable sexual tension.
Even if some felt it was intentionally undercut for a younger audience. Christopher Walken's Max Schreck was also lauded, described as wonderfully debonair, funny, engaging.
Visually, the production design and cinematography were generally praised for their unique style, sleeker, more authoritarian, dystopian. The costumes and makeup effects, especially for Penguin, were highlighted.
But the violent, mature sexual content kidnappings, implied child murder, continued to be criticized as inappropriate for younger audiences, fueling that initial backlash.
What's fascinating now, though, is how the very themes in Batman Returns, which were so controversial then, are precisely what make it so compelling and relevant today.
Let's start with duality. It's everywhere in the film. Catwoman, Penguin, Shrek all represent these warped, reflected aspects of Batman and Bruce Wayne.
Definitely. Selina, as Catwoman, is driven by trauma like Batman. But her quest is for vengeance. His is for justice. It's a powerful examination of how similar origins can lead to fundamentally different paths.
While Catwoman agrees with Batman's appeal that they are the same, split right down the center, they ultimately differ too much to be together.
And the Penguin profoundly reflects Batman's origin. Both lost their parents early. Shrek even remarks that if not for his abandonment, Cobblepot and Wayne might have traveled in the same social circles.
But Batman is content in his self-imposed loneliness, using his wealth and grief for his secret war, whereas the Penguin desperately seeks acceptance, love, respect.
Right, culminating in that vengeful quest when denied. Some critics even suggest Batman's issues with Penguin are personal, not just moral, because Batman is sort of quietly proud of being a freak or unique, and resents Penguin for overtly displaying his own freakishness.
And then there's Max Schreck, embodying what Bruce Wayne's public persona might become if driven by pure greed of vanity, self-interest, a ruthless populist industrialist.
A dark mirror to Wayne's philanthropism, showing the corrupt underbelly of power and influence.
The film also delves deeply into themes of commercialism and loneliness, making it a surprisingly poignant Christmas film, even if it's an anti-Christmas film.
Yeah, critic David Crow viewed Batman Returns as a denouncement of Batman's real-world cultural popularity and rampant merchandising, especially after the first film's success. He noted the irony of that scene being cut where the Batman merchandise store was destroyed.
And despite its Christmas-time setting, it's often called an anti-Christmas film, precisely because it rejects conventional norms and critiques over-commercialism and a lack of true goodwill.
Shrek, in particular, cynically exploits Christmas tropes, falsely portraying himself as selfless while manipulating Gotham. The perversions and chaos of Penguin's Red Triangle Gang are an even more overt, grotesque rejection of the holiday spirit,
highlighting a deeper societal decay. And on the theme of loneliness, it's particularly poignant during Christmas, a time meant for connection.
Bruce Wayne is introduced sitting alone in his vast mansion, inert until the bat signal calls him. While he makes a genuine connection with Selina Kyle, their fundamental differences and their embrace of their costume personas prevent them from truly overcoming their isolation.
He ends the film as he began it, alone. That emphasis on profound isolation is a common, often melancholic theme in Burton's work.
The film's sexuality and misogyny are also prominent themes, especially through Catwoman, her vinyl catsuit, the whip, the double entendres.
It conveys a powerful, assertive, and, overtly sexual presence. The dialogue is full of it, particularly from Penguin and Catwoman. In her fights with Batman, she sensuously licks his face, pretty provocative for a superhero film back then.
But the film also powerfully highlights Selina Catwoman's marginalization by the central male characters, making her journey one of re-empowerment.
Shrek tries to murder her, Penguin attempts to kill her when she rejects him, Batman tries to capture or control her.
She creates Catwoman to regain order, sanity, power, embracing her anger and sexuality. But her catsuit becomes progressively damaged, reflecting her gradual decay into a more chaotic state.
Her final choice to reject Batman's offer of a happy ending and pursue vengeance is a powerful, uncompromising statement, refusing to let another man control her destiny.
And finally, power and politics are absolutely central. Max Schreck's chilling mantra, "There's no such thing as too much power. If my life has a meaning, that's the meaning," encapsulates this perfectly.
Shrek uses money to gain power, mirroring Batman using his fortune for his war on crime. Selina gains power by donning the costume and embracing her anger and sexuality.
Shrek manipulates Penguin into running for mayor for his own goals, and Penguin seeks the acceptance and respect that position would give him, driven by that deep-seated desire to belong.
The film includes sharp political jabs, implying money and image are paramount in gaining public favor. Unlike the Joker throwing money, Shrek and Penguin gain support through spectacle, pandering, corporate showmanship.
Penguin's desire to change the superficial perception of himself is key. But when fickle voters turn on him, he resorts to his plan to kill firstborn children, seeking revenge for the chances he never had, revealing his core monstrousness.
It is important to note here that some critics have reported claims of anti-Semitic imagery surrounding the Penguin character.
Right, pointing to elements like his hooked nose, pale face, lust for herring, his desire to murder every firstborn child, combined with his association with Shrek, who has been perceived as having a Jewish-sounding name, and their efforts to disrupt Christmas. This is a viewpoint that has been reported within the thematic analysis of the film, part of the critical conversation around it.
Okay, so here's where it gets truly remarkable. How does a film go from being criticized for being too dark and divisive to being called the most iconic comic book film ever made?
It's quite the turnaround. In the decade since its release, Batman Returns has developed this incredibly enduring legacy. Despite being initially criticized for its genre blend, it established trends for dark tones and complex characters that are now almost expected in many blockbusters.
Its disturbing imagery, exploration of morality, satire of corporate politics are seen as even more relevant today. Themes of prejudice and feminism explored through Catwoman, too.
It truly felt like an anti-blockbuster, deliberately challenging the formula, and the genre slowly caught up to its vision. The Ringer described it as the first anti-blockbuster for defying expectations, a superhero film with little action set during Christmas, released in summer.
Its performances, Elfman's score, the unique visual aesthetic are all considered iconic now, influencing Batman media for decades, including the Arkham video games.
Even the Batman 2022 director Matt Reeves and actor Robert Pattinson called Batman Returns their favorite Batman film. Reeves ranked it alongside The Dark Knight. Director Robert Eggers cited it as visual inspiration for his 2024 Nosferatu.
That shows its surprising reach beyond just superhero films. And Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman, iconic, doesn't even cover it.
Considered nothing short of a masterful feat of characterization and performance, widely regarded as the best cinematic adaptation of the character, influencing future portrayals like Zoe Kravitz's, consistently ranked among the best superhero performances and villains ever.
Danny DeVito's Penguin, too, also considered iconic, one of the best cinematic Batman villains. Truly unsettling and tragic.
So in the years since, Batman Returns has undergone this significant positive reappraisal, now widely regarded as one of the best superhero films ever, one of the best sequels among the very best Batman films, period.
Screen Rant called it the best Batman film of the 20th century. Total Film named it the best Batman film in 2018. It's often seen as part of Burton's unofficial Christmas trilogy, alongside Edward Scissorhands and Nightmare Before Christmas,
making it a unique alternative holiday film exploring the darker side of the season. Even Daniel Waters recalled being told it was a great movie for people who don't like Batman, capturing its distinct appeal.
He believed its reception was improving with time, especially after the Batman in 2022 shared a similar grim aesthetic. Critics like Brian Tallarico summarize it perfectly. The elements that originally upset audiences are precisely what make it still revelatory. It's one of the best and strangest movies of its kind ever made.
And Rotten Tomatoes now gives it an 82% approval rating, with critics praising Burton's unique atmosphere, Keaton's tormented hero, and the flawless casting.
Beyond the screen, Batman Returns has had this extensive life, showing its deep cultural penetration. Various home media releases, VHS, Laserdisc, DVD, Blu-ray, 4K, often with special features allowing deeper engagement.
And the merchandising campaign was huge despite the tone. About 120 products, action figures, clothing, toothbrushes, roller skates, cereal, a radio-controlled Batmobile, even Batman logo tortilla chips.
A true marketing blitz. It also spawned numerous video game adaptations across various platforms.
And the narrative is continued in other media, surprisingly. In 2021, Danny DeVito himself wrote a Catwoman Penguin comic story called Bird Cat Love, where they fall in love and somehow end the COVID-19 pandemic.
Wait, really? Okay, that's unexpected.
And the Batman '89 comic series continues Burton's film narrative, set a few years after Batman Returns, even introducing Two-Face and Robin, who were originally cut, offering a glimpse into what might have been. The Red Triangle Gang even appeared in a 2022 Robin comic.
Shows the film's lasting influence. However, the film's divisive reception did lead to a major pivot for the franchise, didn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Warner Bros. Decided to continue the series without Burton, deeming him too dark and odd for them, despite the critical reappraisal that would come later.
They replaced him with Joel Schumacher for Batman Forever, aiming for a more family and merchandise-friendly direction, a direct response to the Batman Returns backlash.
And Michael Keaton also chose not to return. He said Schumacher's vision, "It just wasn't any good, man," indicating his strong disagreement, showing how critical Burton's vision was to his involvement.
It's fascinating how one film can reshape an entire franchise, sending it in a completely different direction. There were even plans for a Catwoman film starring Pfeiffer and directed by Burton in the mid-90s.
Yeah, with a plot involving an amnesiac Catwoman confronting corrupt male superheroes in a Vegas-like setting. But both Burton and Pfeiffer took on other projects, lost interest.
And that concept eventually, tragically, evolved into the critically panned 2004 Catwoman film starring Halle Berry. A cautionary tale, perhaps?
Maybe so. But despite the franchise moving on, Michael Keaton's portrayal of Batman from Batman Returns has maintained this incredible hold on audiences.
Which was so evident with his surprising return as Batman in The Flash 2023 and his planned appearance in the canceled Batgirl film.
Exactly. It showcases the enduring power and love for his version of the character, largely defined by the depth and nuance Batman Returns brought to him. It's a testament to the film's lasting impact that even 3 decades later, this particular iteration of The Dark Knight continues to resonate so profoundly. This deep dive into Batman Returns really reveals a film far more complex and prescient than its initial reception suggested. It dared to be weird, dark, and uncomfortable, a true anti-blockbuster, and in doing so, laid the groundwork for the more nuanced, character-driven superhero stories we see today.
Yeah.
But it raises an important question for all of us to consider. When is it more valuable for art, especially big-budget art, to challenge our expectations and reflect uncomfortable truths, even if it means alienating some of its audience in the short term, versus simply delivering what's expected?
That's a powerful thought to leave you with. We encourage you to revisit Batman Returns through this new lens, perhaps paying attention to the intricate details and profound themes we've discussed. Or maybe just consider how many modern blockbusters owe a silent debt to its anti-blockbuster approach. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.